Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see you all. It's great to see those that are on Zoom with us as well. Nice to see the weather's warming up and we're not standing out waiting for Colin to open the door, shivering. My name is Rick Stabbard. I'm the chair of the Government Affairs Committee, and welcome Sheriff Kevin Coppinger joining us this morning to talk about what's going on in the Sheriff's Department, the jail. I think we all saw the reports with the changes in hiring to try to attract new employees. I think we all share the same concerns, trying to attract qualified staff into our businesses. So, Sheriff, thank you for joining us this morning, and welcome.
All right. I'll get the screen up. I'll give him a minute to get up.
So you can say hi.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
morning.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite. I think a lot of you know me, but quick background: I was a police officer in Lynn for 32 years. The last 7 as chief, and then when my predecessor Frank Cousins decided to retire in 2016, the Beverly Police Chief said, "Kevin, you make a great sheriff." And I can't tell you in public what my answer was, because I thought it was the worst idea in the world. But one thing led to another, and here I am. So I love the job, but I got to tell you, it's being a police officer for all those years. I thought I knew corrections till I get in there. It's a different world. Trust me. I'll get into some of it here with you. But Rick just mentioned, hiring, very, very difficult. And I know that's in a lot of occupations across the board. But we're one of those businesses where we can't hire and let you work from home. You have to work odd shifts. Oh, believe me, it's getting to the point that I was going to go over to Stop and Shop and try to talk about those robots that patrol the aisles and see if I can get them to work some of the housing units, because it's bad. But we recently dropped the hiring age from 21 to 19, about 60 officers short. If I can give a quick commercial message out, it's starting pay if you work second and third shift to $68,000 a year. $2,500 hiring bonus. Plus, you can take advantage of the state's tuition remission program. If you go to a state school, you're eligible for up to 100% of tuition remission, which is good because we can all talk about college tuition prices and they're through the roof. So, we're trying to do a lot. And for a young kid want to come in there, and there's a lot of mandatory overtime your first year. You can easily make over $100,000, and a lot of the kids do that. And a lot of them want to be police officers down the road. So that's another reason why I dropped it to 19, because the police can't hire until 21. So if I can at least get a couple of years out of them, I got something. And obviously too, once I train them up there, and then they can move on to police officers. When I was a chief, I love to hire former correctional officers, because they know the individuals, they know how to deal with them, they know how to work with them, and go from there. So anyway, what I'd like to do is take a few minutes. I've got a PowerPoint presentation, kind of give you the gist of what the sheriff's office does. I've been in office 6 years now, and I know I go around the county, 34 cities and towns, and a lot of people don't even know what we do. Because you go outside of Massachusetts, the sheriffs are like the state police. They do full law enforcement. We're really corrections here, although we do have full police powers. And I'll get into some of that here. So I think I click the next one, Colin, if you would. Now listen. I'll click it one more time.
Looks just like you.
Oh, my bad. No, backing up. I'm sorry. Something's wrong there, but it usually get that. Yeah, that's what usually there. Thank you for that.
Should have just cued me on that.
Anyway, a lot of people think the old marshals or the sheriffs are from the bygone days, but I still have the same badge, so same star badge, but we click the next one, please. Anyway, this is our Middleton facility. Essex County is the second largest jail and house of correction in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, second only to Suffolk. And I won't put anybody on the spot, but I wonder if everybody knows the difference between a jail and a house of correction, because honestly, I didn't until I got there. A jail means you have not been tried yet, so you haven't been found guilty. And a house of correction means you have been found guilty, so now you have to go correct your behavior, i.e. house of correction. And because we are in jail and a house of correction, we house everybody. It's not just the low-level people who might be in there for a driving under or a minor drug offense or something like that. We have everybody. I'll get into that here in a minute. So, but our campus is unique. It's up in Middleton, right off of 62. It's like a college campus. Most of the, if I could stand for a minute, I know you won't be able to see me, but this section here is the actual jail. 10 buildings, like a college campus. So there's always movement going back and forth between the buildings. Majority of those buildings are housing units. And then you have the middle building that's kind of centered in the picture there is our programs building. So we do a lot of education, a lot of classroom activity there. So the inmates are constantly going there. The building on the lower side, lower left, is our infirmary, our medical housing unit, because we house over 1,000 inmates in Essex County. That's a lot of people, and it's a tight congregate housing unit up there. So it's difficult, and our population is getting old. So there's a variety of medical needs that we have to do. There's a gymnasium there for recreation. There's a child hall. There's an inmate service building where the attorneys can come to meet with their clients. And we have also video court where we're now, the last several years, we have rooms set up where an inmate can just go right downstairs in the jail to a special room. It's wired right directly to the courts. His attorney can come to the jail, or they can stay in court. They can communicate, and then they can go through different court proceedings up to the judge and defense attorney and the DA to brief when they don't have to be in the courtroom. All trials are always, but this is kind of nice because safety wise, we don't have to transport them. We don't have to take them out. There's no risk of escape. The inmates actually like it because it's, sometimes you think they might want to just go for a ride, but it's a long day in court. And sometimes if they don't get back in time, they don't get the same cellmate, and that can always be a little bit difficult. So there's a lot of variables that go on. The rest of the facility off to the right, administration buildings, is a warehouse, and then the lower right, the building on that far end is the 911 center that's now under the direction of the state 911 department. So if you pick up 911, Lynn has direct call right to Lynn police, but a lot of the communities, it's like Essex, good part of Middlesex, some of Suffolk. You pick up your cell phone and you dial 911, the call's going to go to that building right there in Middleton, and then they'll direct it to the local police, fire, EMS. Just a few factoids for you. Excuse me. Our annual budget is 82 million, give or take. We have about 600 employees. Like I said, I'm short, about 60 at the moment. And plus we have vendors and volunteers of another 200 people. So we're roughly about 800 people. Average inmate population, this is last year, 1,100. When I got there in 2017, it was just shy of 1,500. So a lot of it's gone on. You'll hear me mention criminal justice reform of 2018 when the state legislatures passed some laws to kind of ease up on who's in jail and who's not. And plus COVID. COVID really hit us hard, and we got in. To the good about COVID, it got some of the people out of jail that probably shouldn't be in jail. And I'll say up front, folks, I'm not a liberal. I don't consider myself a liberal. I also don't consider myself a conservative. I consider myself a realist. 32 years working as a cop in Lynn. I've seen a lot, and I didn't have one gray hair till I got here. Well, you can see what happened there. But so I've seen a lot, and there's people who belong in jail, should never get out of jail, and there's also people in jail that probably shouldn't be in jail. They should be somebody in someplace else. So about 8,500 inmates, get processed annually. About 14,000 people come up annually to visit. You can see some of our utility costs there. My water bill is about $36,000 a month. Electricity is almost 47. You can see the gas. Look at the next one, 149,760 rolls of toilet paper. How do you think we did those first days of COVID? We were all trying to attack CVS, and they were giving you 2 packages. 1,000 inmates, no toilet paper. What could be right? What could go wrong? So, 900,000 miles driven annually. You see our vans all over the place. It's not just Essex County. We're driving all over the state. And about just shy of 1,200 meals served in 2022, 3 squares a day. We have Aramark. They're our vendor to do the food, the same vendor that's at Fenway Park. We don't do Fenway Franks, but the food's not too bad. It's not it's not whatever Polana's or something, but we don't get many complaints, so it's edible. A few numbers for you. Population. This was as of about a week ago. Was 1,037. Again, we're the second largest. Suffolk is a little bit bigger. There are about 100 people more than us, and 80 of those people in Suffolk are our female prisoners, because we don't have a female facility in general. We have a small pre-release facility I'll get to in a minute. But Middleton is our main facility. You can see the pre-trial 685, sentenced individuals are 241, and safe keeps 10. Safe keeps are people when your local police departments make an arrest, particularly on the weekends in the smaller towns during the week. They don't want to house them inside their local police department, so they'll take them up to the jail. Think about it. Even here in Lynn, they got a fairly new police station in there. It's not bad, but there's not 3 squares a day. There's not a change of clothing. There's not a medical housing, and there's not mental health workers there. They're not clinicians. We're a full service operation, so they're actually better off if they come to us. And for the small towns that work, a lot of police departments still work, 8 to 4, and they shut down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're on call. So if they make an arrest, they have to hire extra people just to watch the person in their cell. Lawrence Pre-Release Center, it's also known as the Farm. That's 92 people up there. Women in Transition Center, that's our small women's center. It's up in Salisbury. There's only 9 there right now. It holds up to 24 beds. I'm going to get into this a little bit more as we go through the next couple of slides. And Suffolk County South Bay facility, as I said before, we have 58 pretrial females and 24 sentenced up there. This is a typical housing unit. I'm guessing nobody in the, well, you've been in there. She used to work there, but I'm going to guess the rest of you probably never spent a night in Middleton, or Judy, you've been in it?
As psychology and the law, excuse me, my class, I took them to Middleton, and we actually, they put us in little jail box also.
Did you?
To just, to think about the space that
Yeah.
we would have, and the kids never forgot that. But it was a great one and an exceptional speaking educational performance for my students.
That's good. Glad to let you out. It's good. Anyway, that is a typical housing unit, and believe it or not, it is that clean. That's, you wouldn't think that if you watch some of the movies like Shawshank Redemption and some of the prison movies on TV, it looks like the House of Horrors. I mean, that's Hollywood. That's reality. If I brought you up there right now, you'd see something like that. And the ace up my sleeve is we have built-in workers. The inmates work and they get credit, so they keep the place clean. And we're all over them, specifically, especially after COVID. But it's always been pretty clean up there. But now that unit there holds 120 individuals, 120 inmates. Anybody want to take a guess how many offices we have on staff at the moment? You know.
For that one unit?
Yep.
4.
Two offices for 120 inmates. And there's one, and on the other side, there's another unit on the other side in between that we call it the bubble. There's an officer up there can watch both sides and controls all the doors and security pieces of it. Think about that, 120 inmates, 2 offices. You have to have some level of discipline. Rick?
So there's 2 inmates at each door there.
Yes, there's 60 cells, 2 inmates. Now, when that was built, just a little history for you. You probably all know the old Salem jail in Salem. There was a restaurant, a hotel. I'm not sure what it is right now. There was a court order back in the 80s to close that down, and it was then county government, and they got it to a new facility. So they came up with this thing in Middleton. Pre-that facility, it was originally destined for a southern location. It's really made out of, I'm not a contractor, but it's really made out of almost like foam wood or something like that. It's not brick and mortar. And then the cell blocks are, but the outsides are not. And then they shipped it up to Middleton, put it on a hill in New England, and see how the weather takes it. It's falling apart. I always say if it wasn't for duct tape and bubble gum, we'd be a parking lot up there. It's very difficult. We're always repairing it, and we're always trying to get new facilities built. It's very difficult. Nobody wants a jail in their backyard. We get that. But it's always a challenge. But so when it opened, it was built for 550 inmates, and within 30 days, then Sheriff Reardon double bumped, so we brought it up to 1,100. And as I said, I got there 6 years ago. We were up to 1,500 back in the mid 90s, I think it was, when the war on drugs was really going strong. They had almost 1,900 inmates in there. They had beds everywhere. It was just like it was almost like standard room. Yeah, everything.
So originally there was a 1 single room.
Yep, and they double bumped. So
Is that
In-
240?
yes, yeah. It's the next one. So Middleton, I just said that, built in 1991, 500 inmates, now houses over 1,000. 3,500, a little over 3,500 admittances each year, and about 3,700 are coming out. Majority of our inmates will come back to the community, and we focus on that. I'm going to get into that a little bit. You might ask what the average stay, it's about 9 months. Pre-trial and sentence inmates. So pre-trial, I think everybody understands that they haven't just gone to court. If you're sentenced, you can only be sentenced up to 2.5 years, and you come to Middleton. If you're going to be sentenced to over that, you go to state prison, which used to be Walpole, and now it's Shirley. And they have a variety of different facilities under the Department of Corrections, but you can end up anywhere. But we have everybody now. And 6,200 video court appearances last year. That's what I mentioned. We have that room, the number of rooms inside the main service buildings. Lawyers can do their legal bit there. So this is Lawrence. This is the farm. Hit the next one, please. This is actually a working farm. Opened in 1869. We've got our money's worth as taxpayers out of that building, I'm going to say. So reform school for boys. now it is a legit working farm. We hire a farmer and, and she teaches the inmates how to farm. I forget how many acres up there, but you can see last year we were just shy of 20,000 pounds of produce grown. We grow, you think like the standard lettuce and tomatoes. We have corn, we have radishes, we have turnip, we have carrots. Just go through the walk down Stop and Shop. We're probably growing some of that stuff up there. Pumpkins is a big one. We grew, I think, last year over 3,000 pumpkins, and most of these items are donated. We do use some of it to feed the inmate population, but most of it gets donated. Most of it gets donated to nonprofit schools, charities like that. The pumpkin's very popular in the fall. We donate them to the different school groups, and then the kids. I know, like up in Haverhill, a couple of years ago, it was before COVID. We gave them a ton of pumpkins, and they gave all the pumpkins out to the lower grades in the schools, and they colored them. And then the 99 restaurant hosted a fundraiser for the schools, said pumpkins are for sale. So, every grandma and grandpa came down there and bought the pumpkins, and, little Johnny and Mary did the pumpkins, but the school made out the profit. And the nonprofit did very well. The theory here with the pre-release center, going back to Middleton, as I mentioned before, we've got all types of people. So you have to be eligible to go to the farm. So we have, like I said, about 1,023 was a number there that I showed you for the population on May 3rd. There's 90 here, and then there's another 10. So let's just say, just a little over 900 people in Middleton. That's the main campus. So out of that, I know we average about 35 to 40 individuals who are charged with murder. So they're not going anywhere for a while. We have, several people who are charged with, the sex offenders, the armed robbers, drug traffickers, some really heavy, assault charges. And then it goes all the way down to somebody could be in there for like I said, a second or third offense for drunk driving, maybe some simple, but there's not many simple possessions of drugs anymore, unless it's a multiple offense. But there's some other stuff, and there's everything in between. So we got to figure out what do we do with these folks, and we get away from the days of just lock them up and throw away the keys. So we're always trying to figure out how to get them there. So the purpose of the pre-release center is once they're getting ready to get back to the community, they get transferred up to the pre-release. Middleton, there are fences, there's barbed wire. I mean, it's a jail. It's not a five-star Hilton. You go up to Lawrence. I mean, there's no walls, there's no fences. There are offices up there. They're in a soft uniform. They're like the golf shirt and khakis or something. It's not as strict, but we're getting them ready to go home to become productive members of society, so they get a little bit more leeway. And we do a lot of work release programs up there. By the way, I know I'm talking to the chamber, so one of the good public partnerships here is if you're looking for people who if you're shy of workers, a lot of times we can provide workers for you. You pay them a salary. We transport and pick up, so we always guarantee they will be there on time. And if they're late tomorrow and they're not, like that, Friday morning we'll have somebody new for you. That's easy. And then they get paid, and then we hope you guys help train them and get them going. And then when we don't give them the money, we keep it on account. And then when they get out of jail, we give them one big check, and that's hopefully we'll give them like first month, last month's rent, or be able to survive for a while until they get on their feet. Pre-COVID, we had about 100 individuals on a daily basis doing work. And then we're down about 25 because our population has dropped so much. So I don't have that big pool of people, but a lot of times we get people up there who may have a special skill. They might be a plumber, a carpenter, or electrician, and we just plug them in someplace and get them work because it helps with the whole release piece. And community service crews, we have them. We have them everywhere. We do a lot of work in Lynn. The community service crews are just inmates who will come out in a van. I'm just a white van, and we have an officer in there, again, soft uniform, and they come up and they'll clean up the parks and playgrounds. They'll like we're in Brooksby Farm last year, the year before, we helped paint the barn over there. The deal with that is we do it for nonprofits, municipal owned properties, those type of things. But like in Brooksby Village, the deal is you pay for the paint and the brushes, we'll give you the labor. And the guys come in and they paint, and the inmates do pretty good because it's a day out of jail, right? And they want to do good because it helps them get out early. And again, places like the nonprofits who can't afford to hire a painting company come in, and we can help them out. This is the Women in Transitions facility. This is one up in Salisbury. There is a sign out there. We don't try to hide it, but it's right next to the Sylvan Street Grill. So you may have gone to that restaurant 100 times. You probably didn't know we're next door.
Looks like an old motel.
It's actually, you're right. It's like there's 3 wings on it. The wing you're looking at there, that's the correctional piece of it. Again, no fences, no barbed wire. There's up to 24 beds in there. And the women, the women stay there, and there's a track out back, and there's a little picnic table. So it's just similar to what what we do in Lawrence. And a lot of the women there will take them out to work. They work in a lot of the fast food industries up there, so they're coming back and forth all the time. The two other wings, particularly the one that's on the right there, is like a halfway house that's run by a nonprofit up the northern end of the county. So in theory here, the women come in and they stay with us at the WIC for however long they do. And as they get released, they can transition over into the next, the Marist Center is what it's called. And then they're no longer in custody, but they're in a halfway house. So they're continuing to get services that they may need and keep them going so they just don't hit the streets. Oh, yeah, saying pretty much that, especially programming. It's funny with women, and I'm going to get into programs in a minute or two, but women are so difficult when they're in jail. It's she's working, she knows the stories, but you know,
In jail?
yeah, when they're, but they're coming from a very diverse background. And just think about this: we have a program that teaches a woman how to be a mother. That's sad. A lot of these women, I mean, they've been human trafficking victims, they've been drug abuse and sexual abuse, the whole gamut. And then we bring in outside people in to teach them how to be a mom. We do the same thing for the dads, but dad's a little bit more rigid. But the moms, so you look at this, it's pretty sad. So we do a lot of different programs like that just for the women. You wouldn't think about it in jail, but it's a real concern. And as I said, up to 24 women in-house and then 24 beds in that solar residence wing. We do have electronic monitoring bracelets. We put them on all the time, folks. And and we do such a good job up there. I shouldn't say we do, the staff up there do, because they're the ones that should get all the credit. State Department of Corrections now sends their inmates when they get ready to release from state prison. They'll send the women up to us in Salisbury, and we'll help them transition back out. Same thing, they do work release programs, and they do those supervised community service programs too. Civil process. One thing a lot of people don't know we do this. You get the next one. We have offices in Salem and Lawrence, responsible for executing court orders on a civil basis. It could be evictions, it could be non-payment of taxes, it could be seizures of property, it could be physical arrests. It's something that's ordered by the courts. So as you can see, last year we did about 12,000. Well, we served about 12,000 documents. A lot of the documents we're serving are subpoenas. We're not making arrests all the time. Civil process like evictions, yeah, it's a hot button topic. It's been a hot button topic for years. And one thing we try to do is let the court straighten it out. We get hired by the attorneys, and that attorney is dealing with the other attorney, and it's in the courts. We don't come in until the 11th hour, and then we'll come in and whatever the court orders is what we do. All right, there's good old bugs. All right, should be a topic on a couple. There we go. So what happens behind the walls? That's the question. It's kind of not an accurate quote up top there, because we don't have any walls, we have fences, but the traditional mission of care, custody, and control: warehouse inmates. Lock them up, throw away the key, bring them in, shove them in a cell. Hopefully they're happy with their roommate, because they're living in an 8x10 concrete room with a steel bunk. They do get mattresses and sheets and stuff like that, but you don't get along with your inmate, your roommate. That's not good. Minimal services, high recidivism rates. Today's objectives: treatment, rehab, reentry services, individual assessments, and expected to people. Let's say we walk out right now, and we walk out front here, and Rick trips and he twists his ankle. So what's he going to do? He's going to go to the hospital. So you're going to go up to the emergency room. You might go to your own doctor, but they're going to, first of all, they're going to look at your ankle and say, okay, what happened? They're going to take an X-ray. Trying to figure out what the problem is. We're going to look at your overall health. Do you have any other issues? How old you are? What's your physical condition? We're going to do the whole assessment of what Rick started. Then they're going to say, okay, fine. What does he need to get him back on track to be productive member of society? So you get documents, his team will put together a plan. Then you put the plan, you implement the plan. It could be physical therapy, it might be surgery, it might be a brace, whatever it is. And then, so at the end of the day, you're back where you were. That's what we do now with an individual when they come in custody. It's they get to the booking desk. Our motto is reentry starts day one. So when the individual gets to the booking desk, okay, why is this person here? Okay, we see he's been arrested for drug abuse and shoplifting, and maybe they assaulted the shop clerk or something. So a bunch of different charges. Why? They got a substance use disorder. Do they have a mental illness disorder? Are they just a seasoned criminal who just does this for fun? And you put it together. Then same thing as I mentioned with the analogy with Rick. What's the history here, or what else have they been? Have they been in jail before? What are they doing? Are they working? Do they have a family? Do they have any other? Do they have a home when they're not here? You put it together. Then we get them inside, and then we classify them. because a jail that size, you have to classify your inmates to where they're going to live. Now, not to get off the topic too much, we have a gang problem. We have a gang problem in society, but Essex County has a gang problem. And currently, like the Trinitarios are the biggest gang. They're up really up out of the Lawrence area, but there's some down here. And you can't put rival gang members, let alone in the same cell, let alone in the same housing unit. And we were joking before, you know, sometimes you wonder who's running the asylum. Is the inmates running the asylum, or is the sheriff's guys? It's a balance. When you get these you know, gang members inside a jail, and again, 120 inmates and 2 officers, it's a balance. You got to be very, very careful. So classification is so key. So we got to classify people to put them in the right programs and places. And obviously, we focus on the root causes of behavior and especially like program I just mentioned. So these are sample types of our housing units. We have a new man unit, so everybody comes in. We had a quarantine unit for the last 3 days. We're finally going to wind that down because hopefully COVID's done. But everybody would, when COVID was at its peak, everybody would come in, they go right into a quarantine unit. They stay there for the original 14 days. And then we test everybody. And now, you know, that's starting to wind down. We still test everybody coming in day one, see if they're COVID. And then we put them in a new man unit just for about a day or two. So we do these full assessments with mental health and substance use and all the other stuff we do. So then another simple unit is an at-risk population. We really call it PC, protective custody. There are people in jail you just can't put out in general pop because number one, they might not want to be there. They're so scared to death they're going to get killed, and that could, I wouldn't say that couldn't happen. It shouldn't happen, but you know, it could. And then there's people there we can't put them in general population because they'll just prey on everybody. So they have to go to a certain area. General population is general population, subject to classification, as I mentioned. And then we have different buildings now that we're trying to get into this more of this programming and this changing of the mindset and the root causes of behavior. So opening avenues for reentry success. That's a young adult offender unit now. It's actually 2 units broken up, but it's usually 18 to 24-year-olds who are in jail. We try to focus a lot of resource on it because all the people with, you know, all kinds of degrees after their name that do all the research on stuff. I'll tell you, those are the key years for people, whether they're going to stay in crime, go straight, grow up, whatever you want to call it. And so, and we bring in a lot of outside agencies to work with us, like Roker is here in Lynn. They do a lot with the Lynn Police, the city of Lynn, and some of the same age group, and up north it's UTEC. So we bring them in, and they'll work with them in the jail. You know, when they get out, they can transition, and the guys can go to the UTEC or Roker programs outside of the communities. Restrictive housing unit, that's where the real bad guys go. That's the worst of the worst. Those are the guys that can't get along with anybody else, and they just have to be in. Used to be called segregation. The movies will call it the hole. It's not a hole. You know, it's just another cell. But they're in the cell most of the days. They are in the cell most of the day. And these are folks that are just they're violent. They're dangerous. You know, by law, we have to give them a hearing. We review their cases 3 times a week. And they're viewed by mental health almost on a daily basis, and we got to watch them carefully. And you know, maybe they come back, and you know, and they're not in there for years, like I said, like you see on Shawshank. But they may be there for a couple of days, depending what they did. But let's just say they assault a correctional officer, or they assault another inmate, you know, badly. They could be in there for, you know, a couple of weeks or a month, and then just transition there. The real bad ones, if we have somebody that just can't get along with us, we ship them out. I mean, ship them out to another sheriff's department across the state, and they do likewise. So if you got an individual that just can't get along with anybody here in Essex, we may ship them over to Middlesex or Suffolk, or we may even ship them all the way out to Hampton County. We're always bouncing people back and forth, especially when you get the gang members. You get some gang member that's trying to control me, and he's gonna you know, flex his muscles in Middlesex, and they don't want to deal with him. They'll ship him over here because he's nobody over here, so he's out of his turf. The other 3 I'm going to touch on as the next go through the screens: the COPE unit, the CASE unit, and the K unit. So we'll just jump to that. This is a picture of a different style of housing, a dormitory style housing. Majority of what I showed you before, majority of housing units are the traditional 2-man cell. We have a few 1-man cells. These are the new dormitory style. That building actually used to be a warehouse. So it's a little bit easier to do because you've got people in there now. It's like I think it was like a ski, some of the old ski clubs from way back in the day. You put everybody in the same row. And we do a lot of programming on those units. So if we jump to the next one.
So those are all beds?
Yeah,
lined up in the back?
Yeah. Those are beds. You know, obviously there's a mattress and a big plastic base, and then there's compartments underneath. They put all their belongings in there. So okay, this is why I want to, this is correctional opportunities to personal enrichment. We opened this almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in the fall. This is where we have a lot of mental health issues in the jail. About at least half of our inmates have some form of mental illness. So when you put a guy in a cell, a two-man cell, who's got anxiety or some other issues, it doesn't do well for him. It doesn't do well for his roommate, and it doesn't do well for the officers, because when things go bad, our officers have to, what we call it, go hands-on. Which now you gotta go get the cuffs out, you gotta wrestle with them, and that's never good. Bad things happen on occasion. So we went to some of the mental health experts, said, what can we do? So we got together, we applied for a grant, we got some money. So we opened up this COPE unit. So we took roughly 35 people with low-level anxiety, mental illness. We put them in that dormitory-style housing unit. Then we hired additional licensed clinical social workers. We embedded them right on the unit. They have their own office. They're there during the normal workday. So for two reasons. Number one, they have to keep a closer eye on the inmates, and it's pretty much treatment on demand. And then we put them in that dormitory-style housing because the pressure is off, because they're in a much larger area, and we also encourage the buddy system. So if John Jones is over here and he likes John Doe over here, maybe they can sit each other's beds, or maybe they can just chat. If they got a day and then they got somebody just to listen to them there. So it takes the stress out of the unit. We've had some very good success with it. Use of force that we were always watching from our offices drops. Less problems in that unit. Let the mental health clinicians take the ball and run with it. Correctional officers are there for protection, but it seems to be doing pretty good on the whole. Next one. This is our case unit. If you haven't figured it out, we love acronyms, by the way. So clean and sober existence. This is something where we work very closely with the drug courts. Judge Lamont down here in Lynn, he loves this program. He's been a big supporter of it. This is something, it's a pre-trial unit. You have to do this voluntarily. This is for either somebody with a drug abuse problem, or it could be an alcohol problem. Low level, no serious violent crimes, just a lot of nuisance crimes, but they're in jail. And they get the presiding judge to send it over to drug court, and they get a meeting with the judge, the DA, the defense counsel, the probation, sometimes the police. And if the individual is willing to do this, they'll come up to the unit. It's a standalone unit. And I'm just going to preface that by saying right now we're doing a lot of construction because we're still keeping those buildings out. So right now it's kind of a hybrid, but we'll get back to it. It's a standalone unit, so they don't mix with general population. 28 guys in a unit. 42 beds, 28 guys in a unit, and they just stay there. They program all the time. We have to bring people in there. They eat on the unit. They recreate on the unit. They don't make phone calls. They don't get visits. All they do is go in there for 28 days and concentrate on their sobriety. We work with them, and they go back in to see the judge after that 28 days. We send like a report card. The judge will say, okay, fine. Mr. Jones, you've done well. This is great. Okay, I'm not going to send you back into normal, to general population. Maybe they send them to a halfway house. Maybe they put them to an external program outside the jail. Maybe he sends them home and puts an electronic bracelet on them, something like that. It's options for the court. We've had some pretty good success with that. It's not easy because they got to go in and they got to dry out under medical supervision, and they just program for 28 days. Care unit, correctional alternatives for reentry. Similar to what I just said, but these folks are eligible for medication-assisted treatment. On the next slide, we'll touch on that one if we could. So Matt, this came out of 2018 criminal justice reform. Keep in mind when you run a jail, they're always trying to smuggle stuff into the jail. Believe me, and your hair would be as gray as mine if I told you war stories. But obviously, drugs are the biggest thing: Suboxone, methadone, Percocets, fentanyl. They're always trying to get it in. Cigarettes. Just to kind of give you a quick example, I don't know if anybody's familiar with one strip of Suboxone. If you have an addiction problem, you go to the doctor and they'll give you a script for Suboxone. It's legal, but one strip of Suboxone, it almost looks like if you go to CVS, you get one of those little films you put on your teeth to whiten them. Oh, yeah. On the street, black market on the street, about $5. In the jail, $200. You don't have to be an economics major to see where I'm going with this one. So if you can smuggle in a couple hundred strips of Suboxone, you can do yourself pretty well inside the jail. Now you may say, well, they don't have money. How are they doing this? They're clever as hell. They have, there's cash apps, they use them. They don't have phones, obviously, but they call the wife, they call the girlfriend, they call the buddies. A lot of the transactions are outside the jail through these cash apps and everything else, and then they go on with it. It gets. Oh, we monitor every call. Oh, yeah, and we actually, that's a great question. We monitor their calls. We have a system. I shouldn't say it because, I don't want to give away all my toys, my tools, but we monitor their calls.
Yeah.
But we'll have guys who will get released today. And they'll have some of the other gang members or some of the more influential inmates saying, by the way, come, you go out tonight, load up, come back tomorrow, get yourself rearrested and come back here tomorrow. I say, I'm not doing that. Yeah, you will. Otherwise, we're gonna blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you deal with in the jail. And like I said, you get some of the stuff in there, it gets bad. So anyway, so Matt, so the reason I say that, so for years, for decades, you fought to keep drugs out. Matt comes up and says, I'm gonna bring drugs in and do it legally. Total paradigm shift for us. So pilot program was started in 2019. We were one of them. It would, not to give you, a course on drugs, but Suboxone and methadone are drugs that you can take to relieve your addiction. So if you got either a a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction, you can go in, you can go to the Linway. There's a methadone clinic on the Linway. You go to your doctor, you get Suboxone. So now if you're coming in to the jail and you have that, you're addicted, you can go on either methadone or Suboxone or Subutex is what we do. It's the same thing. And what it does is it brings your addiction down to a maintenance level. You're always high, but you're not so high you can't function. You're able to go out and work or live as a normal human being and go on about your life if you stay on your meds. Okay, so it doesn't always work that way. So if you go on Vivitrol does, it blocks the receptors in your brain so you don't have the addiction urges. So you go cold turkey, you go clean. So each individual can pick what they want under a doctor's care and advice. So we now offer this inside the jail. So in theory here, if Lynn PD makes an arrest today and they bring the guy up to the jail tonight, we'll say, are you on a medicated assisted treatment prescription from a qualified community provider? Which means you're a local doc. Yep, okay, fine. We can check right there. We have access to the system. We do, they'll get their next dose tomorrow morning. And we will first to build out this medication assisted treatment infirmary inside the jail. It cost us, me and you, your tax money, about $1 million. And we freaked the DEA out because everything we do here, because it's drugs, it has to be regulated by the DEA. So we said, we want to take a community provider like what's on the Linway and stick it in the middle of a correctional facility. Hadn't really been done before. We had to jump through hoops and everywhere else, but we got it up and running. Like I said, it cost us $1 million. We're now known as one of the national models. We got sheriffs from all over the country come to see what we did up there. And it works. We average about 170 guys a day that come in to get their medication. What they do is they come in early in the morning. The Subutex, if we don't give them the strip, we take a pill and we crush it up. They come in and they take a drink of water. And then all in a nurse's care under the watchful eye of a correctional officer. They'll take the medication and then they take another drink of water and then they sit in their hands. They sit like this in the chair for 15, 20 minutes to make sure they get rid of it. We watch them all the time. They're pretty clever. They'll go, and then drop it in their little pocket on their jumpsuit or something like that. Again, they're going to try and sell it when they go back inside. They make a fortune. Methadone's a little easier because it's a drink. You really can't, it's tough to divert it, but it's a game. But we run quite a bit, and you can see that last thing on the end down there, 55,000 medication doses, almost 55,000 have already been administered just last year alone. It's working. It's not for everybody. It's working. And to be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sold on this when I first saw it, but when you look at it, and you see some people that come in and no disrespect in the room, any of you could be on one of these right now. We never know it. So that's why I said it's not a bad thing. It can get people back together. Get the next one, do it.
Do they ever get off?
Well, now you're gonna get my social, not my social,
Okay.
my police officer hat on. I just remember when they first brought out the methadone clinic, they were supposed to be on it and weaned off it eventually. And I'm out of my league when I say this. So I don't know, but it just seems like there's a lot of people on methadone but I readily admit I'm out of my league.
Yeah.
So I real quickly just watch the clock. Educational programs, I'm not going to read every single one. You can see a different variety of programs that we have. We have great partnerships with Northern Essex Community College. They can teach them the traditional education, whether it's the high set, which is the high school equivalency. Merrimack College comes in and teaches the inmates right in the institution. They go regular classrooms. Those are all a bunch of different programs that will offer anger management, alternatives to violence, everything like that. Whatever we can tailor made from that initial intake assessment of the individual, what they need, we can hook them up with a program inside the jail. Again, remember I said 600 employees, 200 vendors and volunteers. The vendors and volunteers do most of this work for us. Vocational programs. We have a captive audience, no pun intended. So what can we do with them while they're there? Barbering. I always wondered why when I was a cop, how come we have so many barber shops in downtown Ware? Now I know. Well, I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably came out wrong. So in society, let me take out the lint part, in society, but really we teach, and the guys, to their credit, they love learning how to cut hair, and then come out and they open up a business. Hey, great, but I always wonder where the hell they get all this training. So, but hey, if it works. C-Tech is like fiber optic cabling, Cat 5, Cat 6 cabling in construction. You can see the other ones. Our flagship is the third from the bottom, hardscape career programming. We started this about 4 years ago. Again, we love grants. We hunted for a grant. We partnered up with the New England Concrete Manufacturers Association. We hired a guy from Essex, North Shore Technical High School next door. We got a great partnership with them. So we opened up the hardscape program up at Lawrence at the pre-release center, and it teaches the inmates how to do landscape, how to make landscape walkways, patios, whatever it is. They've done a ton of work on our facility first, because number one, if they're our prisoners, they might as well get, let them, find their trade why with us. But it's great. And then it's funny, as soon as they get out, the landscape is lined up to hiring, because they know the trade. Now they can do it. And they're guys, they're young guys, so they like working outside. They like lifting the block. It's their workout. And they actually do pretty good. And then again, it's always a carrot on the stick when you're working in correction. So if they want to participate in the program, they got to have zero discipline issues inside the jail. So they got to behave themselves. To behave themselves, we'll give you an opportunity. Hardscape is huge. And we got very, very successful with that. So the next one, if you would. All right, this is kind of, we get into the end here. This is the reason why I ran for sheriff. Working all these years in Wayne, it's the same people, recidivism, in and out, in and out, in and out. You got finally go like, it was almost like a baby. Say, okay, fine. John Jones gets arrested tonight for B&E. He'll be back in 6 to 8 months, and we'll have another spike of B&Es in the city. We almost knew it. So I started to do this in 2009, early 2020, and then obviously COVID hit us, and so it got kind of put on hold. But STAR program, supporting transitions and reentry. We opened up 2 offices, one down here in the multi-service center and one up in Lawrence on Merrimack Street. We opened it up last year, and all that stuff I just told you about we do in the jail, whether it's the medical piece of it, the clinical pieces of it with anger management classes, conflict resolution classes. Some of the education pieces are here. There's AA meetings, NA meetings, how to deal with addictions, a whole variety of programs. We are fortunate to work with Congressman Seth Moulton. He got me about $850,000. That's how we paid for the initial year. We have the individuals, they can come to us from a variety of ways. Obviously, they can come to the court through probation, or if they get out of jail through their parole officer. The court can send them to pretrial probation, send them down here. We try to solicit as many of the inmates inside through direct verbal contact, that when they're getting ready to come out, say, hey, come down to Lynn, or come down to Lawrence, this is what we do. And then I'm going to give Lindley PD a big pat on the back, because last year, the bicycle unit that's always downtown here, they came to us. They said, can we send guys to STAR that aren't in the criminal justice system? We said, sure, we'll bring them up. It's all voluntary. And I think to date, these numbers might be a little low. I think I got them like around Christmas time, but they already sent 53 different, guys and girls to the program, which to me is huge, because they're getting services. They're not becoming a pain in the neck. They're not bothering your businesses or your neighbors or anything else. So no one's down 911. The handcuffs aren't coming out. They're not going to court. They're getting direct services from us. So it's working very, very well. Each individual that gets enrolled in the program has a navigator. You can think of it like a big brother or a big sister. So they'll help them if they're on method or if they're on any of those MAC programs. They try to watch their schedule, say, okay, you do for a doctor's appointment next week, or, you got to go here, there, and everywhere else. They get them going. We have academic coaches, working with a lot of workforce development, groups like Mary Saris locally here and some other ones up around the county. Wherever we can do, it's just another chance, another chance for them to succeed. And by the way, if we are looking for new space here in downtown Lynn, because we're at the third floor of the multi-service center, we need more space. So if anybody has anybody that's, it's good, we're not bringing inmates in with jumpsuits and causing all kinds of issues. But I mean, they can be just any people, but
Where's the multi-service?
right about the shelter, right above the table, yeah. So last one, I think. And that's what we do, enhancing public safety by making it safe. So that's my, my 2-hour program. I jammed it into with 20, 30 minutes, whatever then, but, questions?
No more domestic violence unit?
No, that's merged into a lot of the other programs in there. So yeah, and she's talking about over the years, they had a lot of different specialized units, but then it got to be too big. So now you kind of merge them all into these other different groups.
Of the percentage of of prisoners that are coming through the Middleton correctional facilities, what would you say are drug related?
We guesstimate about 70% of our inmates have a substance use problem, drugs or alcohol, kind of
Drug
combined.
or alcohol?
Yeah, but drugs are the majority.
I'm-
Drugs are the majority for the root causes. They're addicted. So I understand your question, right? So drug charges, people with simple possession, it's rare if they come to jail. It's rare. They're out on the street. They're in programs. People that are in jail are distributing drugs. And when you go by the law, it's possession with intent to distribute here, and drug trafficking is the major players. We have a lot of those, and we have some of the middle category, but the bottom category, simple possession, is not very few in jail. They're out hopefully getting treatments in place.
Who do I work with Todd and Sean over the as Kobe came and obviously, so we were looking for a new phone source. That's something we can do.
Yeah.
Is that something we can do or we have to get back?
Either way. If it's re-entry, you can stop into the multi-cert, the Star office down there. A woman named Stacy Bloxham is what Stacy. Yeah, I mean she runs the show for us.
So it would be no difference if we got back to the.
Right. Yeah, that's why I said ours is we can go either avenue, through probation, through the court, or you can come solo to us. As long as somebody needs the services, we'll provide it.
And the difference between someone at probation or dealing with probation and someone dealing with Star or that on, where are they at in the process? I guess that's making sense that way.
If I'm understanding you right, when you come to Star, we have now the one acronym I can't remember. It's an Ohio-based assessment system. It's got another acronym. I know I'm not saying it right. So when someone comes in, we assess them, and then the STAR program is built on 5 tiers. So when you come in, say you're at tier 2, okay, and we're going to bring you up to 5 eventually. So you come in, and then you go up to 3, then you go up to 4, then you slip, and you reuse or you do something you should have done, and you drop back down. So our program goes up and down the 5 tiers. It's got versatility, so one mistake isn't a killer, doesn't throw you out of the program. So someone's always in the mix. So if they're on probation and they're in there, now probation probably ordered, or the judge ordered them to start through probation. So we get them in this mix and we report back to probation on a routine basis, say this is what it is. They come in off the street and we can put them in the same system, but the only people supervising them are just really us and those navigators trying to keep them on track. They go through the same system, put through the same program, but there's no accountability from another agency. They can walk out of our place if they're involuntary, just the same way you go to the doctor and like the initial thing what Rick says, gets to the emergency room, says, the hell with I'm out of here, you can walk out. So it's not mandatory unless it's through the courts.
Is there a partnership with outside organizations that supports the inmates as they're released, or is it open the door, they get a bus ticket to wherever and have a nice day?
No, I mentioned Broker and UTEC, so they come in routinely, and especially for the younger guys. We have clergy comes in all the time. Believe me, we have 52 different faith-based groups that come in, and a lot of guys find faith in jail. So they get hooked up. We had a job fair last year, that first time we ever had it in the jail. We had, I think, 12 different employers. We have a giant library. Each had a little station, brought the employees in, and we had meanwhile, as preparing for this, we taught the inmates how to write a resume, how to just shake the person's hand and look them in the eye and with confidence. And we went through interview skills and all that. And we went through the feedback from the employers was amazing. They loved it. I know the initial hired a handful, to be honest with you, I kind of lost track of it since the last year's been gone. But so anybody we can get. Now the problem is I just can't bring anybody in the jail for security purposes. That's huge. But we do have a lot of groups, and then when we do get out, we're always looking to, years ago you just drop them off at the courthouse wherever they came from.
Yeah.
That was always causing issues. So now we try to find placement. So like right now we've got a guy. He's an older guy. He's he's on parole. He has no place to go, and our folks are jumping through hoops to find him a home, because certain places where when you're on parole, you can't just go everywhere. So we'll do anything in our power to get people to there. And if they're homeless, we'll find a shelter for them someplace, and we'll contact the shelter and say, will you accept so and so, and whenever we can. We just don't want to kick them out the door anymore, because they're coming back.
Right.
The one thing I might throw from a suggestion standpoint, there's certainly a difference between a job fair and a career fair. Whereas the job fair talks about, hey, I'm looking for employees in my job or in my business. Whereas a career fair really talks about highlighting industries and the work that happens within those industries. That might be an educational opportunity where, because we certainly, as a business community, have industries that need labor. So rather than Rick's Auto Collision hiring a person, Rick's Auto Collision could teach about auto body and talk about the auto body career path. He might not be hiring, but we're now talking about the industry and that career path. I don't know if that's something you do, but it's certainly something that
We've done similar things. We've had inmates leave us. Again, we have inmates from all walks of life. So we've had guys, when I first got there, we had a guy running a small business seminar for the inmates. He ran a small business. He ran into some domestic issues and some alcohol issues, and he ended up in jail. But he got his act together. He came back in and he would teach those classes. We have a guy that came in and teaches a financial literacy program. So it's volunteers. So I'll throw it back at you guys. If anybody wants to come in and teach a class on this one, we can certainly talk and maybe work something out. I would love to do more like culinary arts is a big thing. I don't have the facility to do it because we're facility challenged, as I said before. But I know, like when we had the work release, going full operation with over 100 people, a lot of the restaurants were hiring out inmates for the dishwashers and in the back room doing that type of stuff. And you watch the success stories. Some of those guys ended up, now they wait in tables because they got their act together and they went through it. But cooking is, we have to feed 1,100 inmates on a daily basis. Now we're doing a small partnership with Aramark now. We're hiring their people. They're hiring our inmates to cook some of the food for us. So it's anything like that we can. It's space, it's time, but it's really volunteers. And like auto body would be awesome. Those guys love working on cars. I've got a nice big warehouse, but and then we got 3 or 4 lifts in there for more mechanic stuff than the auto body. But it's like,
Industry's got exit points.
Yeah.
Mine, it could be, you're painting, you're doing collision work, you're working for a vendor, you're working for an insurance company or whatever. But what's become huge in my industry is what they call ADAS, advanced driver safety equipment, blind spot monitors, radar, 360 camera systems. And when a car gets hit, even in the most minor way, it requires these specialized calibrations. And I just dropped over $100,000 on equipment that's being installed now. You need a big space to do it, but the technicians to do that just have to be kind of tech savvy. They don't have to know how to, fix dents, change panels, paint cars, and all that. It's more technical than that, but it's relatively easy to teach as long as you know the equipment, and you're basically following what the computer tells you to do. But there's big money in it too.
Plus, I guess the question would be, not so much yours, but any of these topics, is it something that can be taught in a classroom side of jail? You won't have the hands-on with the equipment to show them or teach them. I don't know if there's something people can have an idea that can help. That's awesome. Like, we gladly take a look at it. That's like the hardscape thing. That's easy for us out there because they built, we bought them the tractors and the excavators and everything else. It's just whatever we can, because a lot of these guys are just starting for a job.
Yeah.
They're
So
starting.
the point to culinary arts is, if you really go somewhere, because endless people. food service. So in the. Good.
Yeah.
Salem.
Yeah. The only thing we do with the industry, with the restaurants right now is we do the, we teach them serve safe. They get the certificate. So we get them in the door. We're talking with DCAM. DCAM's the state agency that looks at all state building construction. Because we need to rehab that inmate service building and the chow hall. Again, one of my other problems, the chow hall built for 500 feet, feeds 1,000. It just doesn't work. Right. And part of the plan is if we can squeeze money out of DCAM, which is probably not going to happen. I'd love to just make a little spot in there where you teach a culinary class right inside, because we're serving how many meals a day? It just makes sense. Other
Okay,
questions?
well, we've hit the 1 hour mark,
Yeah.
and I think that was great
Yeah.
and packed a lot of information in there. I think a lot of stuff that we don't realize, somebody gets arrested and sent away, and you think that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of great information, and it looks like you've got a lot of great programming up there. Doing a great job.
Can I just add one thing, as an excellent board? The biggest thing that I found with this area is respect gets respect. So there's a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but there were some people that I worked with that were going to think that they were taking care of being a judge, jury, and that's not the job. When you say care, custody, and control, that spreads out to somebody, but respect really gets respect. And the inmates accept that. You give them respect, you get it back.
Mhm.
So it's really part of the job that you've got to go in with that mindset as well.
When you walk in the lobby of the jail, our motto now is, there's a big seal of the jail. It says honesty, integrity, respect. So when kids in the academy, they hear that every single day. Because if you're not honest, you're not going to work for us. You're useless. And the inmates know if you're dirty, and they're going to eat you alive. And integrity, enough said, and you just mentioned respect.
Right.
And that's a great point, though. It's very difficult to manage 120 people, that's just you and your partner. And it's like, you got to give them some slack, but you need to maintain control. And it's a tough job to do. And some mutual respect, you got to have it, because the inmates cross the line, they got a penalty to pay. It's not the old school beat the living bejesus out of them. It's like, okay, but they won't go to programming.
But it was my favorite job.
Yeah.
My life. It was my favorite job because it's rewarding.
It can be
It
very.
can be very rewarding doing that job.
For some of them, it's probably the first time you've ever been respected.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that, I would think that plays a lot.
Yeah.
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 I learned an awful lot. I just thought.
I know, I
they
did.
picked up trash. And I saw them power washing gazebo at Flat Pond the other day.
Yeah.
But I learned an awful lot. I really appreciate the insight.
I think we all appreciate what you do, Sheriff, and what your staff does.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
on
invite.
behalf of the chamber, absolutely, thank you for being here tonight. Everyone, we have a couple of upcoming programs, just wanted to clue you in on. Next month, we're actually gonna have the health department come out for the government affairs. There's some new coding for how they're the health inspection reports are gonna be changing for restaurants. And they're going to come out and talk about how that's going to be working. End of May, we had initially Secretary Howe coming at the beginning of May. She's now coming at the end of May, May 31st. Secretary Howe, that's the Secretary of Economic Development for the state, is going to be presenting at our EDP meeting. Right in June, we have our big State of the Region breakfast. I'd love to see all of you guys there. It's a really great event. We hear from the mayor, the town managers of our surrounding communities. And then we have a couple of fun events coming up too. We have a casino night right at the end of, right at the end of April. Wood Insurance is one of our table sponsors. So anyone who wants to play a little roulette, the Wood Insurance is supporting that. And then we also do opening night at North Shore Navigators. So our local amateur baseball team right in Lynn, we rent out the roof deck, and it's a great evening in June, standing in the sun and watching a little bit of baseball. So with that, thank you all for being here today, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice job, Joe. Pleasure, Rick.